Choose right now, Vandamn. Apologize to Derek for embarrassing me at that party, or get the hell out of this house. Those words came out of my wife's mouth like bullets. Each one hit me square in the chest, but I didn't flinch. I couldn't. Not with Derek standing there in my living room, that smug smirk playing at the corner of his lips like he'd already won something. My name is Vandamn Sean, and I'm about to tell you the story of how I lost everything by walking out that door, and how that same choice somehow saved us both. Caitlin stood with her arms crossed, her jaw set in that way that meant she wasn't backing down. Behind her, I could see our wedding photo on the mantel. We looked so young, so sure. That was 8 years ago, back when for better or worse felt like a romantic promise instead of a threat. "I'm not apologizing," I said quietly. My wedding ring suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "I saw what I saw." "You saw nothing," Caitlin snapped. "Derek was helping me network. That's what colleagues do. But you stormed over like some jealous teenager and accused him of flirting in front of my entire office." Derek shifted his weight, and I caught it. That tiny moment of satisfaction in his eyes. He wasn't uncomfortable. He was enjoying this. "He had his hand on your shoulder," I said, my voice steady, even though my heart was hammering. His hand lingered. "I know what I saw." "You're paranoid," Caitlin shot back. "And honestly, I'm tired of it. Tired of defending innocent conversations. Tired of you making me choose between you and my career." I reached for my keys on the table. My hand was shaking, but I didn't let her see it. There were 100 things I wanted to say. 100 secrets lodged in my throat like shards of glass. But I said none of them. "Then I guess I'm leaving." Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Choose right now, Vandamn. Apologize to Derek for embarrassing me at that party, or get the hell out of this house. Those words came out of my wife's mouth like bullets. Each one hit me square in the chest, but I didn't flinch. I couldn't. Not with Derek standing there in my living room, that smug smirk playing at the corner of his lips like he'd already won something. My name is Vandamn Sean, and I'm about to tell you the story of how I lost everything by walking out that door, and how that same choice somehow saved us both. Caitlin stood with her arms crossed, her jaw set in that way that meant she wasn't backing down. Behind her, I could see our wedding photo on the mantel. We looked so young, so sure. That was 8 years ago, back when, for better or worse, felt like a romantic promise instead than a threat. "I'm not apologizing," I said quietly. My wedding ring suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "I saw what I saw." "You saw nothing," Caitlin snapped. "Derek was helping me network. That's what colleagues do. But you stormed over like some jealous teenager and accused him of flirting in front of my entire office." Derek shifted his weight, and I caught it. That tiny moment of satisfaction in his eyes. He wasn't uncomfortable. He was enjoying this. "He had his hand on your shoulder," I said, my voice steady even though my heart was hammering. His hand lingered. "I know what I saw." "You're paranoid," Caitlin shot back. "And honestly, I'm tired of it. Tired of defending innocent conversations. Tired of you making me choose between you and my career." I reached for my keys on the table. My hand was shaking, but I didn't let her see it. There were 100 things I wanted to say. 100 secrets lodged in my throat like shards of glass. But I said none of them. "Then I guess I'm leaving." Caitlin's face flickered with something. Surprise maybe, like she didn't actually think I'd do it. But she recovered quickly, her expression hardening again. "Fine, leave then." I walked past her, past Derek, who had the decency to look away for half a second, and headed toward the door. My whole body ached. Not from anger, from something else, something I'd been hiding for 6 months. Every step felt like dragging concrete blocks chained to my ankles. I paused at our wedding photo one last time. We'd taken that picture right after I'd gone off script during my vows. I'd promised to always show up, even when I was broken, even when I was ashamed. I was about to break that promise. Or maybe, in some twisted way, I was keeping it. The door closed behind me with a sound that felt permanent. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. I'd left an envelope on the kitchen counter. Divorce papers, already signed, and a letter she'd probably never read. My phone buzzed. Not her. It was Dr. Morrison's office, reminding me about tomorrow's appointment. Another round of chemo. Another day of pretending I wasn't dying. I started the engine and drove away from the only home I'd known, away from the woman I'd loved more than my own life, and toward a future that was rapidly running out of time. That night, Caitlin stood in our kitchen, Derek long gone. The silence was suffocating. She'd expected to feel relief, maybe even vindication. Instead, there was just emptiness. Her eyes landed on the envelope. She opened it with shaking hands. Divorce papers, his signature already there in blue ink. Her breath caught. This was real. He'd actually prepared for this moment. But there was something else. A sealed letter with her name on it. Before she could open it, her phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Shawn? This is County General Hospital. We have your husband listed as your emergency contact for billing, but there seems to be confusion. He's been receiving treatment here for 6 months, and today's payment was declined. We need to discuss his account. The room tilted. Treatment? 6 months? Her voice came out strangled. Treatment for what? The nurse paused. I'm not authorized to discuss patient details without consent, but perhaps you should speak with Dr. Morrison in oncology. The phone slipped from Caitlin's hand. I didn't go to the hospital that night. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town where nobody knew my name. The room smelled like cigarettes and broken promises. I lay on the bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and thought about my father. He died when I was 12, same disease eating him from the inside. I remember my mother's face those last 2 years. She stopped being a person. She became a caretaker, a ghost, a shell. After his funeral, she looked at me with hollow eyes and said, I should have lived more while he was here. I should have let him see me happy. I swore I'd never do that to someone I loved. So when Dr. Morrison told me I had 18 months with treatment, maybe 6 without, I made a choice. I'd die alone rather than drag Caitlin into that darkness. She'd already buried her mother this year. I couldn't make her bury her husband, too. Better she hated me for leaving than blamed herself for not saving me. The next morning, Caitlin stood outside County General, the letter still unopened in her purse. She'd barely slept. Her mind kept circling back to the nurse's words. 6 months, oncology, Dr. Morrison. She pushed through the automatic doors and found the oncology wing. The nurse at the desk looked up, recognition flashing across her face. Oh, you're Mr. Shawn's wife. I'm so glad you came. He usually comes alone on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, Caitlin thought. He always said Tuesdays were for meeting old college friends. Thursdays were community center volunteer days. All lies, every single one. What's wrong with him? The nurse glanced at the computer. I really can't say without his authorization, but I can tell you he's been incredibly brave. Stage 3 is never easy, and doing it alone. She trailed off, eyes sympathetic. Caitlin felt the floor drop out from under her. She sat in her car in the parking lot, hands trembling so badly she could barely open the letter. His handwriting stared back at her, each word a knife. Caitlin, I'm not leaving because I don't love you. I'm leaving because I do. For 6 months, I've watched myself fade, lost 30 pounds, can't remember simple things, fall asleep at 8 like an old man. When you asked me to apologize to Derek, you didn't do it because you stopped loving me. You did it because you can't see me anymore. And I realized if you can't see me now while I'm still here, you'll drown in guilt when I'm gone. I'd rather you hate me for leaving than blame yourself for not noticing I was dying. I love you too much to let you watch me disappear. Memories crashed over her like waves. The way he'd winced when she hugged him last month. She thought he was just tense from work. The night he'd cried in bed, claiming it was stress. How he stopped eating her cooking, always saying he wasn't hungry. The long sleeves he wore even in summer. Every, "Are you happy? Really happy?" question that she'd brushed off as him being sentimental. That spontaneous trip to the mountains 3 months ago that felt so urgent. He'd held her hand the entire drive, like he was memorizing the feeling. And Derek. God, Derek. Vandamn wasn't jealous. He was running out of time and watching her waste their final months on someone else. She'd invited her ex-boyfriend into their home while her husband was dying in silence. The shame hit her like a physical blow. She needed to find him. His best friend Travis finally broke after her 15th call. He's at the Riverside Motel, room 12, but Caitlin, he made me swear. He said if you found out, don't let you come. He said you need to let him go. She hung up and drove 90 the whole way. The motel was exactly as depressing as she'd imagined. She knocked on room 12 until her knuckles hurt. No answer. But she could hear movement inside. Vandamn, I know you're in there. Silence. I'm not leaving. More silence. She walked to the front desk, booked room 13, and slid a note under his door. I'm staying here. You don't have to let me in. You don't have to talk, but I'm not leaving you alone. When they were dating, he'd gotten food poisoning on a camping trip. She'd sat outside his tent all night, just being there. He'd asked why. Because suffering alone is worse than the suffering itself. The next 4 days were a war of silence. Every morning, she slid a note under his door. Still here. Still here. Still here. P.S. I called Dr. Morrison. Treatment restarts Monday whether you like it or not. On day 5, she heard his door open at 3 in the morning. She scrambled out of bed. He stood in the hallway, skeletal, shaking, a ghost of the man who'd walked out 4 days ago. I'm scared, Caitlin. His voice broke. I'm so scared. She pulled him into her arms, and he collapsed, sobbing like a child. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave you. I don't want you to watch me disappear. She held him tighter. Then let me stay. Let me fight with you. I'm past the treatment window, he whispered. The doctor said I waited too long. Then we make every moment count. The next 8 weeks were hell. Chemotherapy ravaged what was left of him. She held the basin when he vomited, read to him when he couldn't sleep. The day his hair fell out in clumps, she found a razor and shaved her own head first. Now we match, she'd said, trying to smile through tears. There were days he said cruel things because the pain made him cruel. She took it. Worse days when he apologized until he couldn't breathe. She forgave him every time. She found his hard drive labeled for Caitlin after. Videos for every month. June showed him gaunt but smiling. If we'd had kids, tell them their dad loved their mom more than anything. Tell them she deserves to be happy again. She watched all of them, crying and laughing, memorizing his voice for when it would be gone. Week 9, Dr. Morrison called them in, her face unreadable. She pulled up the scans, hands shaking slightly. I don't know how to explain this. The tumor has shrunk 60%. In 20 years, I've never seen stage 3 respond like this. Vandamn stared at the screen. What does that mean? It means you might have years, not months. It means we keep fighting. Caitlin broke down. Vandamn sat frozen, like he'd forgotten how to process hope. Later, Dr. Morrison pulled her aside. I'm not spiritual, but something made the difference. Maybe love, maybe the will to live. Whatever you did these past weeks, don't stop. As they left the hospital, Caitlin spotted Derek in the parking lot. He'd been waiting. Derek approached, hands in his pockets, shame written across his face. Vandamn, I need to apologize. Vandamn tensed. Caitlin stepped between them instinctively. No, let me say this, Derek continued. You were right. I was flirting with Caitlin. She asked me to help with networking, but I thought maybe I had a shot at getting her back. When you confronted me at that party, you weren't being jealous or paranoid. You were protecting your marriage from someone who didn't respect it. I'm sorry, for all of it. He extended his hand. Vandamn looked at it, then at Caitlin, then back. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because life's too short for grudges. They shook hands. Derek walked away. Caitlin grabbed Vandam's hand and held on tight. 2 months later, we sat on bench 47 in Riverside Park, the place where I'd proposed 8 years ago. I'd gained back 15 pounds. Her hair was growing back in these soft curls. We fed the ducks stale bread in comfortable silence. You know what the craziest part is? I finally said. I thought protecting you from my death was love, but letting you fight for me was love too. I just couldn't see it. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We both couldn't see. I was so busy moving forward, I forgot to look at what was right in front of me. So what now? Now we live, really live. No more secrets. No more protecting each other from pain. I kissed her forehead. Even if I only have years, not decades? Even if you only have days, she whispered. I'd rather have one real day with you than a lifetime without you. The sun set over the water, and for the first time in 6 months, I let myself believe in tomorrow. If you enjoyed, please do not forget to drop a like and also subscribe for more interesting